I'm super fired up to be here with TC, introduced as the man who fires up the conference. So thanks everyone for having me. As TC mentioned, we founded AppDirect in the summer of 2009. And if you can recall, it was the height of the Great Recession. And businesses around the world were struggling to be productive, to stay in business, to compete. And in fact, I came from a family that had a retail business, a furniture store in Niagara Falls, Canada, right on Main Street. And after over 100 years in business, my family had to shut the business down right around the time I was graduating. And that was reflective of the state of the economy at the time, where businesses big and small were really struggling to compete. And we saw the opportunity in the early days, in 2009, of how the cloud could be the great equalizer to enable businesses to thrive again, and to enable and put technology in the hands of businesses at with a better business model for them to really be able to take pace. And I think what we've seen over the last almost decade now is really a shift in the way the economy works, which we really call the evolution of the digital economy, but particularly benefiting businesses big and small.
Very good. Now, before we dive in, because I want to touch on some of those, you guys recently had a unique milestone at your company. It's in your beautiful San Francisco headquarters that looks right over the water, the Transamerica building, but you hosted the most popular president in North America to your corporate headquarters. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we recently hosted Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at our office in San Francisco. TC picked that tidbit up, but I think one interesting thing that we're seeing is on a global landscape, people are recognizing the importance of the digital economy and as well the importance of the channel in being the local trusted provider to connect people with businesses. So I think that's been recognized not only in the business world by people in the channel, people in this room, by people in the software business, but it's happening across the world. We're seeing CEOs of manufacturing firms, car companies, people in Fortune 100 companies that would have never typically thought of themselves as a software company, come learn. And then we're also seeing people, including Prime Minister or President of a country, be really focused in learning about what we are doing by really helping businesses thrive.
Well, you touch about car companies and other companies that are building channels. Touch a little bit about how those channels are evolving. And we in this industry talk about the existential threats to the two-step and three-step distribution, but you're seeing channels and partnerships flourish in other industries as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the things that we see is that when we think about the digital economy, which we define as people bringing their relationships and their business online in a digital way and transacting online, it changes the landscape of what we would consider software or what we would consider a digital product. And I can get into this a little bit later, but historically, we would have thought of software digital as maybe a website, maybe software, but even that was sold in a CD or in a box or implemented offline. Now, not only have we seen a shift to software online, we're seeing a shift where almost any product is becoming digital. And the tenets of that digital service are the fact that you can essentially subscribe to it, you can access it from any device, and many devices themselves. Let's take a car, for example. You may have thought of a car as a manufactured automobile that has no connectivity or digital services, but really now it's almost like an iPad with metal wrapped around it, and the benefit that you're getting is really the smart services from the technology. So when you used to think of your car's engine as the actual physical engine, I think in the future, kids will think of the car's engine as actually the technology that's powering the automation.
You and I have talked about the example of the Tesla automobile. There was a problem that the car would roll back on the city streets of San Francisco that you know so very well. And so the company wrote a software patch. It engaged the parking brake temporarily till it had enough torque till it would get over the hills, so it would ease the owner's unease about rolling backwards. Well, that was updated on the fly, and suddenly, an automobile, like you said, gets better digitally. That hasn't happened in 100 years of automotive. You wake up one day, you get in your car, and it's better than it was the day before. All right, let's get to your company, AppDirect. 4 different really platforms. Run us through each for those that don't know the organization.
Yeah, definitely. So from AppDirect's perspective, we want to help people monetize in the digital economy. And essentially what that means is we have a platform that helps you sell or resell digital services. And this is really relevant when it comes to the channel because we see the channel as one of the best ways of delivering multiple services in a consolidated way. So really our monetization platform consists of different products or technologies, one being billing. So one of the things that we recognize is that as things shift, products shift online, it's about subscription-based models, metered-based models. So billing isn't only one price, one time. It becomes very complex on how to do that. So we have a billing technology that helps you meter, rate, and invoice. We also have what we call reseller technology, which helps all of you be able to better enable your channel businesses, or as a channel, be able to do things like quote faster, mark up, mark down, bundle with other services, do all that in the fly, and then auto provision the services as well. And we also have other capabilities around a marketplace that can be deployed online or on a phone to enable anyone to have the services that they need and buy them digitally, not only in person. And then finally, we have an app devices component, which is really the IoT opportunity for each and every one of you, which is saying, how do you benefit if you're in the channel from providing value-added services or software attached to any device? And that device doesn't just need to be a computer or a server. That device could be a security camera. That device could be a car. It could be a fridge. It could be a sensor. So I really think that the opportunity of IoT can really open up the landscape for the channel as well.
All right, let's get right to it then. How do you guys work with traditional master resellers and master distributors and traditional distributors? Friend, foe, competitive, collaborative? Give us the rundown there.
Definitely. So we believe that this is an open ecosystem, and AppDirect can be the platform that can help anyone monetize. So some of our larger customers are distributors, VARs, resellers, agents. And we have a variety of different, essentially, additions depending on how big you are. So if you're a larger enterprise that operates in multiple markets with multiple business units, and then different resellers from there, we can give you the technology to run your own stack, attract your own thousands of resellers. But if you're a smaller VAR or MSP and you want the ability to bill or offer services online, or really automate the back office, we have entry-level services that can help you as well.
Let's shift to the SaaS marketplace. Excuse me. If you were to ask me 2-3 years ago, I would have thought we would have seen greater traction among VARs, MSPs, IT consultants selling SaaS software. It's happening. It's starting to build, but it's been a little more slow. How would you rate the progress? What do you think needs to be done more, and what kind of vendors are leading the way?
So I think if I were to say one mistake that we made in kind of our thesis or messaging is that SaaS is everything. So a lot of times we may say that SaaS isn't taking place as fast as we would have imagined. But if I look at almost everyone's business here, your business has been digitally transformed in some way or another, and it's driving significant opportunity or significant threat and challenge to your business. And we've seen huge success stories of people being tremendously successful at building businesses from scratch at selling only software as a service. But when we think about what software as a service did, is it really shifted the way that we think about software. So traditionally, if we would have thought about software, it would have been saying, okay, I'm going to get, let's say an accounting tool on a CD, I'm going to install it, and that's all it is. But really what we've seen is that software as a service and that delivery model is now the way people sell any type of digital service. So when we think about, telecom services, VoIP, fixed line, broadband, all these different services are essentially becoming sold digitally in a recurring way through online channels, very SaaS-like. So really going back to where I think things are at is that SaaS was actually a new business model, and many players today are predominantly using that business model. And whether you're selling productivity apps, communication apps, accounting apps, or whether you're selling other types of digital services, really that business model has transformed the way that all of us operate.
Okay. You were recently quoted as saying that channel firms are falling short of their goals due to a disconnected approach to sales. One reason, service providers are giving customers mixed messages. What did you mean by that?
Sure. So I definitely think that there's opportunity for everyone to win in the digital economy, but I think that we need to take a unified front on the value that we're providing to the customer. So in the past, what I had seen is that the primary way people sold things was saying, I have this product, buy it. And it was very specific. It may have been very product driven. Whereas what I'm seeing in the future, the people who are most successful are selling solutions based on their knowledge of a specific vertical or industry. So really solution-led versus product-led. And I think these mixed messages come when people are leading with products without talking about the value and that solution brings. So one thing that I see often is that a way to really think about taking advantage of the digital economy and these SaaS-based or software-based business models is to really shift the way you think about selling to being really solution first.
You're right in the heart of Silicon Valley. You're sitting atop a very beautiful office tower right there on California Street, right?
That's right.
All right. So you see it all. You see it coming and going, and you hear the words digital transformation bandied about. You mentioned it earlier. What the hell is digital transformation in your esteem, and how can this channel take the best advantage of it?
Definitely. So what we've seen is a long evolution in the history of computing cycles. And if you go back, as early as the mainframe, people thought that what a computer is heavy computing power of services or data that sits in one place. And what we've seen, and it took many, many years, right? We've seen now data is everywhere. And because data is everywhere, no longer do you have to put information into something to get value out of that tool. Now that tool can be proactive in telling you what you need to do. And what we really think of as digital transformation is the way of rethinking the way your business now operates, because technology is no longer something that you need to put something into. It's something that actually feeds information back to you. And a good example of that is that, the history of music, we used to always say, okay, I need to go and buy or choose that I want to listen to rock or to this artist or to the Beatles, and there needed to be shelf space for those different artists. But then all of a sudden, when Spotify came along, it was no longer about just being a place to choose your music. It became all about discovery. And now people are used to just listening to and finding new music all the time. So I went from someone who used to say I was a big U2 fan and only buy the new U2 albums, and now I listen to all sorts of genres, all sorts of music, and that music shuffles all the time. And that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for really the idea of the digital economy or digital telling me what I need, not just me saying, oh, I think I like this because it's something that other people like.
All right, you talk about the digital economy, but there's still a lot of friction in it. Talk about the places where you think innovation and technology can remove some of that friction to really accelerate the growth that's already growing pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So I think one way, from an academic perspective of looking at our market, is that we all live in this world of multi-sided platforms. So the idea is that we're sitting as the channel in between buyers and sellers and producers. And how do you make that economy the most efficient as possible, right? And I think that each and every one of you in the channel opportunity has the opportunity to remove a lot of the unwanted friction from the customer experience and add a lot of value in doing so. So what we've seen when we time and time again go into businesses is that they say, we want to know what we need, we want someone to tell us what that is, and we want someone to make it easy for us. Because if I'm in the furniture store industry, I want to sell furniture. That's what I want to be good at. If I'm manufacturing, the coffee pot back there, I want to be super good at making it the best damn coffee pot I can. But I want someone to be a solution provider to tell me, okay, here's what you need to do, full stop, in order to get most value. And that's really, I think, where the friction can be removed, where right now, many of us in the channel are spending a lot of our time thinking about, okay, how do we figure out the invoicing and the transaction costs? And for each of you to do quoting, it's really tough, and you have to use different tools. And then for each of you to bring new products to market, there's ramp up that you need to do, and then they don't work together. So it's really difficult not only for the end user to get seamless value, but it's also difficult for you. And we think in the digital economy, a lot of that friction can be removed in the same way as we think about that music example where you used to have to drive to the CD store, the record store, pick what you wanted, check out. It took a long time to get it. Now it just comes to you within seconds. That can similarly happen to software. And when it does happen, and maybe I'll take TC's question from you. You could say, is the channel relevant? And I would say it's more relevant than ever because businesses still need someone to tell them not only what they need to do, but how they do it, how to implement it. And technology can actually help you be better at offering that end-to-end value without the friction.
We've only got a few minutes left. I know that because I have to sit up. We're not the tallest guys up here, and they've put the time monitor just around the horizon. So we've got about 3 minutes left. You've got a lot of men and women in front of you that are entrepreneurs themselves. They have their own businesses. Some are family businesses, which you're very familiar with. Talk about the culture that you guys developed to make the most of the opportunity. Maybe share some personal stuff about maybe some mistakes you made and course correction, but talk about the deep importance that culture is to AppDirect.
Yeah, definitely. So when we founded the company, we were 2 people in an apartment just about 10 years ago, and we looked at some of the companies that we admired the best, over time. And what we kind of saw were a similar trend in their culture. And essentially, it was that from the early days, there was defined values, vision, and some form of innovation framework, and that really led the culture forward. So you look at a company like the Four Seasons, which I always admired from a hotel brand perspective, thinking that pioneered luxury. And the founder of the Four Seasons, Izzy Sharp, and his wife Rosalie, they deeply rooted in values around the team, around their ability of always exceeding expectations. So you would have thought that the Four Seasons started with the vision of saying, we want to be the biggest luxury brand in the travel industry. But it couldn't be farther from the truth. They just started by a footprint of saying, we have a vision for creating a great experience and exceeding the customer expectations. We're going to do that by creating a really strong values-based culture. So we're going to define those values. And that's, I think, what's so powerful. And I think each and every one of you, in whatever business you're in, you have the opportunity to do that. And I also think with the digital transformation occurring today, each and every one of you can be a digital hero within your own company by thinking about how you can transform either your company or your customers. And being a digital hero doesn't just start by understanding the products and technologies you can bring to market. It also starts with thinking differently about the way business operates. So you defining values for the way you're going to operate in the digital economy, or your team members or your stakeholders, or you helping your customers through that footprint is a huge opportunity for each and every one of you.
All right, we've got 1 minute left, and personal, reliable, rational, you come across very credible, but you guys have made some mistakes. So tell us about a mistake that you've made and a lesson maybe you learned from that mistake.
Yeah, definitely. I think along this path of figuring out how we can help businesses around the world find software from the people they need, it was a tough go. So people in the early days didn't think that cloud or SaaS would ever be a thing. And in fact, for one of our first customer launches, we spent about a year delivering for that big launch. And they were going to be selling a suite of software. And 72 hours before the launch, we didn't have any of the apps that we had thought we'd have in the inventory. We just stay up 72 hours. We got the apps in, and we were so excited that we'd have this launch, and all of a sudden, everyone would come. And in fact, it was like crickets. We pressed the launch button, no one showed up. And the thing we realized is that businesses won't just buy technology from a website. They buy technology from people they trust. So the biggest thing that we realized is how do we build the tools and technologies from the back end to enable you as the channel and resellers to best help your customers through this shift to the digital transformation, because businesses won't just go online and buy. They want to buy from you, and we really want to help you do that.
There's the closer line. Businesses want to buy from you. Ladies and gentlemen, from 2 guys in a dorm room 10 years later to now a unicorn with a billion plus valuation, co-CEO of AppDirect. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Sachs.
Thank you. Thanks, TC.